Here we go. Time for another sprint zone. This one is for 3/31/2026. And as always, I'd like to thank Ron Kennedy for his telemetry, the cool gauges with the 5-minute versus 30-second power, and of course, his video footage from his Insta360 8K X5. Makes things very nice. A little bit of a cloudy day. Everyone's pretty well organized here. Some slight overlapping wheels up there near the end there, but the front of the group was quite well organized. Good shot of Matt from the Fort Collins Cycling Club and his Dago green, along with Doug with his Dago. I wonder if they coordinated outfits today because they could be a team. Yeah, maybe we'll call them Team Dayglow Green. Coming into the corner, and you can see people starting to position themselves. Danny moving back there in his Provello kit. He's now riding for Viral, but he knows he doesn't want to be too close to the pointy end of the stick. Ron Kennedy, and you can see in the Ron cam that he was up front. Good shot of his torso there. You can see what's happening, and you can see he's pulled off to the left, and people are starting to make their way forward, and others are starting to make their way back, trying to position themselves. Good shot of Anna in her Dayglow green vest, fresh off of her training camp in Arizona. She's been riding extremely strongly lately, and if you're following her on Strava, that is no surprise. It is my time to get closer to the front here. I'm not one to be shying away too far, and it's a much better camera angle to see what is going on here. And you can see me in the upper right, in the Ron cam, got my little Teletubby thing as I'm trying to keep Felix and it looks like Fred in check. But Felix is feeling like really good. And with that new bike, I don't know if it's placebo or whatever, or inspiration, but he is, in my opinion, markedly faster than he was before the new bike. And looking at the wattage here, you know, my 30-second already 275, and this is just the beginning, and I'm sitting in behind Felix. Granted, Felix is kind of thin, and he doesn't provide a great draft, but nevertheless, you know, I am sitting in, and work is being done there. You know, comparing like powers, it looks like, ooh, Ron was throwing out a little more power than I was for the last, 5 minutes. So I must have had a pretty good shot there, or maybe because it was the grade, he weighs a little bit more. Fred begging off there, does not want any piece of the pointy end of the stick as Felix was too much. And this was a slick move by Fred to get more draft. But I'm like, Fred, you're always normally pushing the pace. So like when the pace gets hot, you don't want to be up there? Come on, dude. In any case, I try to stay close to Felix, but he is just throwing it down here. And you can see how arrow his position is. And with the arrow helmet, and he is not looking for help. Just going for it there. No one wanting to come around. And this is a good sign that it's hard. I remember how hard this was. And my heart rate already 166. No damage been done yet, but, it is a quick pace and no one wants to come around. And you can see behind me, Danny kind of soft pedaling or whatever. So if you are, third or more back, the draft is good. So Felix comes off, he's looking strong, looking for people to come around. I wanted no part of this. I'd been working pretty hard. So I'm going to drift back to the other side, get myself a little bit of a break, let some others come through and do some work. I really don't want to be too far back. And that's the problem with this group. It's big enough that if you go to the back, you can get yourself caught in arrears behind those that are below your station, so to speak. And they're going to gap you off. So you've got to be extra vigilant to be able to notice when that gap is going to open and to be recovered enough to be able to cover it. And, it is what it is. Perhaps in a race situation, people would be more vocal. They'd be like, hey, get up there, do some work, don't sit in. Or they would be assertive enough and they would push you off the wheel. Fred out there in the wind, riding close to the yellow line. And I think after reviewing the USCF rules, after there was a digression last week, we are going to change the rules of engagement for the yellow line. And it's now going to be, you cannot touch the yellow line. That's right. Let me repeat that. You may not touch the yellow line. That will not hold for this particular video, and I will make that announcement at the next ride, and we'll get that socialized. But the reason is clear, and we'll talk about that later. Anyway, a little bit of an acceleration here, a little bit of organization going on as the pace hots up a little bit. My heart rate already up to 171, and I was a little tired today. I had run the day before, and for this pace where there's no accelerations, you know, the lactic acid wasn't there, and I am okay. But if there's any serious pushes, you know, there's a problem. Open. There goes Fred, maybe crossing the yellow line. I probably could have grabbed a frame or two that showed that he was actually on the other side, but you know, it's not going to make any difference if I post that or not. I think the egregious issue with one of the Corn Doggies team members last week, just blatantly, just you know, making up his own rules. And you can see, you know, there goes a car there. If we were riding too close to the yellow, and the cars are giving us plenty of room, and we're taking liberty here. We're taking lots of liberty. And everyone's looking pretty strong. Looking at the Ron cam there, it looks like Dougie Fresh up there just killing it. Ron's got good position, and you can see that good power is being thrown down. I'm looking at my 5-minute power is like 212. Ron's is only 182. And, you know, this is due to the fact that I am somewhat guttered back here because I'm back too far. You know, you do your turn up front, and then the reward is, if there's any kind of like wind, a free guttering lesson. In any case, here's an inflection point. I'm looking to maybe move up here, hoping to. Danny stands up on the pedals. Dougie moving back. Fred moving up. And that's the thing. If you do too much work too early, you know, you can be shelled on those little points there. My 30-second up to 293. Good wattage. Ron's up to 3 something. So that's good. But our 30-second power, it's equivalent. But Ron's got a much better position up there in the draft. And you can see, you know, how much more difficult it is. We got Matt from the Fort Collins Cycling Club and that Day Glow, and there's a lot of cupping going on in that kit. Yeah, those baggy jerseys compared to like a slimmer fitting thing, like you can see what Doug has to the right of him. The blue, it's nice. It's fitting tight. And looking above, we got Danny there. You know, the arm warmers and the maybe a t-shirt and jersey, much tighter. So we got Matt moving up the inside, taking some of the wind, wanting to be in good position, realizing that maybe it's a good move. If you're going to be guttered, you might as well be guttered closer to the front and take some wind. So now I've got a better position. There's a little more coverage here. It's not great, and I'm not happy, but it is what it is. Looks like Ron and the Ron camera up there. Good position there with Don up front, Marcelo coming through. Looks like Doug coming through, and Ron is happy to stay out in the wind to hold his position. He's strong enough to be able to do that. And you can see what, you know, even though, you know, he's out in the wind there, our 5-minute powers are pretty close. You know, 30-second power, he's a lot more. But, you know, that's to be expected. And now, sort of a nice, kind of a double echelon. This is kind of sweet here. Ron actually leading the second echelon. Nice work. Fred on his wheel. Matt from the Fort Collins Cycling Team Club there. Doug there. Got Don in the red holding on to the last spot in the second echelon. And people are working hard. Marcelo working hard. His stroke getting a little choppy, but he's pushing hard. And you can see up front that those are folks that are trying to hold their position there. Good shot of Ron as Ron goes to the front. Good shot of his power there. Got his computer in the screen. That looks nice. Clear blue skies for Ron as he is hotting it up, keeping it honest. And you can see that a lot of people in this group have not seen the pointy end of the stick. You know, wheels suck. Just looking to kind of hold on, not looking to help. And a lot of that is because you have people above their station that are closer up to the front, not willing to come through. And it's a tactical game. It's if they're not willing to come through and you don't want to come too far back. Like, I don't want to be where I am. But now I'm starting to move up here a little bit. And you can see folks that were trying to hold their station. Dougie looking strong, holding his position. And here's a little bit of an attack here. And the acceleration goes. It looks like it is go time as Ron is swarmed by three strong men. Three strong men that I might say hadn't seen the front for a while. Felix was early on, but he's recovered. Now I take over, hopefully trying to set up a second echelon here and trying to get people to work together. But no, it's a free-for-all. People are just going for it, just pushing hard here. Strong enough to go around me and not really wanting to work. And so I guess it is the sprint, and it is what it is. So Ron goes strong. Anna goes strong. Doug looking good. Marcelo coming through as I fade back. And as I recall, this is the point where my legs just said no mas. They could feel the lactic acid, and that was due to the run the day before. And so I knew when to call it quits, and it's all good. Good shot of Ron at the front, and this is what suffering looks like. And you see a shot of what his pain cave is like as he is pushing hard to try to reel people in. Don reeled in, even in the puppy paws position. And there are, I believe, 3 riders up the road. That would have been probably Felix and maybe, was it Fred and Danny up there. Nice job. Wasn't close enough to see who actually won that, but I'm guessing it was probably Felix. If not, you can comment in the comments, or it doesn't really matter. If you can't see it, it didn't really happen. In any case, that was a good one. I had fun. Hopefully everyone had fun, and a good time was had by all. All right, we'll skip some of this turnaround stuff. Kind of nice. A little bit of recovery here as we move on down the road. Yeah, I did render all this stuff. Group looks pretty good. Not quite as organized as I would like, but not bad. Not bad. You know, the separation's up there. Some people not waiting or turning around early and people chasing, but this wasn't really that bad today. So now we get somewhat organized and we find our way back to the second sprint zone. And here we go. Fairly well ordered at this point. There's a few people, it looks like, have a slight gap up there, but that's okay. And now it's game on. Nice recovery here. You know, my 30-second power, 36 watts. So this is good. Heart rate down to 119. Yeah, and that little recovery section has done what it was supposed to do. It's better to be able to recover and hit it hard. I mean, if you want one of these other rides, TTH, Thor, War, Soar, Oval, you know, InCycle, that just keep it. That's a good hard ride, but it's not going to make you that much faster. We really want to do some interval work. At least that's my goal here. Recover and then hit it hard. Recover and then hit it hard. Whereas others, it's like, well, they just want to like win or whatever. But I've got different goals. This is early in the season. Who cares what people do now? Not a biggie. But I want to get some work in. Especially with the second sprint zone shut, or the third sprint zone shut down due to traffic issues. So everyone's sitting in, 30-second power, only 90-something, people relaxing. I'm not where I want to be. I want to be closer to the front. But what can we say? People are starting to push a little bit. Nope, not really. I think maybe we finally caught the people up front. Oh, no, we haven't. There's still a little bit of a gap here. And it looks like our second group does not want to reel them in, or does not have the power to. And you see some bunching up back here. And whenever you see bunching up, people riding 3, 4 abreast, what have you, that means the pace is slow and people not wanting to do the work. Nice little friendly tap on Danny's back by Doug to get him into the line. And now it looks like some organization is starting to occur. Yes, people being brought in that were up there, and I don't know who those people were. Oh, yeah, that might have been like Rob Baum, and it looks like, who is that? Michael, who are up the front. Oh, and look, a sneak attack by, it looks like, Fred who's up there, and Fred's waiting. Yeah, it used to be in the old days, Fred would just like go hard and not kind of wait, but he realized that even his strength is not enough to stay away from the mighty freight train. So if you want to play, you know, you got to sit back and wait for your turn. Looks good. Ron up front looking good. And looks like Ron's starting to try to get the organization going as he pulls off a little bit. And this, it looks good. Nope. Looks like Danny's staying out there a little bit longer. And I guess that's okay. I'm in an excellent position here, not throwing down too many watts, but you know, what can we say? The position is in fact good. Strong man Dougie there, and then Anna coming through, Fred on the wheel there. And this is pretty smooth. And I like this, how this organic organization came through. Flick of the elbow, Fred comes through, I'm coming through nicely, another flick of the elbow, I'm coming through, I come through, you know, nice and slowly. For the record, I did not flick my elbow. You know, sometimes it's necessary, sometimes it's not, if you need a strong signal. But most people, you know, at least the racers know that, you know, you don't really need to do that, but it doesn't hurt. Except unless the flick actually moves a few wattage. And here we go. Anna filling in, and it was Matt from the Fort Collins Cycling Club way back there, being tactical and not coming through. But Anna not shy of the work. Dougie coming through. And once again, organization has come back into fold. Anna doing her turn at the front. Nice aero position. Dougie sitting there looking good, and you can see the flapping jacket on the left of Doug Allen, that day glow, all the cupping there. Gentlemen, please, you know, get yourself some more aero kit, or at least if you have to wear that, don't race in that, please. Just don't race in that. Probably talking about 30 watts being bled off at speed. Things are looking good here, people coming through, and there was a little bit of an acceleration here, which is why I didn't jump in right behind Travis. So now I'm slowly coming through here. I'm coming up, and then Doug kind of just jumps in here, doesn't quite chop the wheel, but I was coming through, and this is the aggression, or sort of just in some of the racing demeanor here. And here we go. Nice little push for the top here. 400 watts for myself. 490, 500, and this is where I'm going to have to give up the ghost. At this point, my legs were screaming from the run the day before. You know, after a few more weeks and this becomes the norm, I'll be okay. But right now, not good. Looking at my 5-minute power. Oh, and it is equal pretty much to Ron Kennedy. So it shows, like, you know, depending on where you are, power doesn't mean everything. You know, positioning is a lot of it. And you can be bleeding off watts. Good shot of Ron at the front there, riding strong. And looks like he has it for a while. Marcelo coming through on my cam. I've kind of shut it down. Brian coming through. Looks like you could see Ron's computer there. 211 watts. Good wattage being thrown out there as I kind of sag back. And you can see I've kind of shut it down. I figure go hard, blow up, shut it down. For me, I don't see any benefit of pushing through at this point. Save the glycogen. Save the matches as everyone else comes through. And that was fun. Wasn't quite certain who won that, but a good time was in fact had by all. Until next time, when there's a new yellow line rule. Do not touch the yellow line. So let it be written. So let it be done. All right. Peace out, everyone.